One more, and then we'll start this year. A good night of Shabbos, everyone. What a schus it is to be able to continue our Chaburah. So first of all, an incredible yasher koach to our Ba'ali Nigina, Ba'ali Shira, and really an incredible yasher koach to Reb Tzvi for just preparing such a beautiful and magnificent spread. Shkach, thank you. The butt. Oh, very nice, very nice. Well done, excellent. Make sure you get correct attribution on the website for that. So we're continuing in Eretz Hashem in our Chaburah in the Sefer Hakitzu, which is a Sefer written by the Chalban, Reb Chaim Cohen, who was one of the great Mikubalim of Eretz Yisrael, passed away not so long ago. So for those who are joining the Chaburah this week, just a little bit of a quick recap. So the Chalban introduced to us this idea, this incredible yisod, that a Jew, a Yid, has two parts to him. There's the chitzonius and there's the panemius, the external part of me, the internal part of me. And the Chalban we saw advanced a really incredible and definition. And first of all, Chara, please, whoever in the back over, if you didn't get something to eat or something to drink, please make sure that Zevi, you'll make sure everybody who wants has. Right, so the Chalban explained that a Yid has panemius and chitzonius. Right, he has a part of him. He has an internal part and an external part. And the Chalban explained so beautifully. Now that idea that a Jew has chitzonius and panemius, that's not a chiddush. That's not a chiddush. What's the chiddush is how the Chalban defines it. And he says, the chitzonius, the external part of me, that's my personal identity. That's who I am as an individual. My panemius, that's my identity as part of the klal. That's my identity as part of the collective. And the Chalban explains so beautifully that the ikar of the Jew, right, the ikar of the Yid, is his panemius. You see, Abosai, up until we started learning this sefer, if somebody would have stopped us on the street and would have said, Sanu, what's the job of a Jew? What's the job of a Jew? Before we started learning this sefer, what would we have answered? What's the job of a Jew? To work on yourself. Now, both said that is a true answer, to work on myself. But the truth is, it's only first part of the equation. The job of the Jew is to work on himself, but the ultimate job of the Jew is to become part of the collective. To become part, ultimately, again, although I will say there should be extra sheets on the table if anyone needs. The ikar job of a Jew is to work on becoming part of the collective. My true identity is not as an individual. My true identity is part of the klal. So the Chalban then went on to explain, and he says this dichotomy between panemius and chitzonius, individual identity, collective identity, is also part and parcel of the concept of galus and geula. He says the difference. He explained. He gave the mashal. Remember again, like a body. Klal Yisrael is a body, right? We're a body, and the body is made up of multiple parts, right? Each limb has its own identity. But the truth is, the arm is only a meaningful limb when it's connected to the body. In other words, at the end of the day, if you have a detached arm, an amputated arm, that's worth nothing. Yet, interestingly enough, the arm, when it's attached to its body, has its own unique identity. And the arm is not the same as the leg, and the leg is not the same as the neck, and the eyes are not the same as the ears. So the individual parts are important, but they really only have their importance when they're part of the functional whole. So that's the way it works with Am Yisrael also. Am Yisrael, we spoke about this a lot in our last shir. We're not supposed to be the same. We're not supposed to be the same. Just like the body, right? If the legs want to be like the arms, the body's in trouble. If the eyes want to be like the ears, the body's in trouble. The body has to have different parts. Klal Yisrael has to have different parts. But the parts are only meaningful when they identify as a chelek, as a piece of the whole. So the Chalban explained that herein lies the real tragedy of galus. He says he compares galus, if you remember again, to death. What happens in death? The body simply stops functioning. What happens in galus? See, something fascinating happens in galus. Galus is like an amputation. The limbs become detached from the whole. And the limbs could still function to a certain degree, but they're not at full capacity because they're not part of the body. So therefore, says the Chalban, in galus, essentially, all we have is chitzonius, we don't have panemius, right? All we have in galus is the external identity. In galus, what do we have? I work on myself. That's the job of a Jew in galus. Work on yourself. Work on yourself. Why is achdus, why is Jewish unity so difficult? Because at the end of the day, this is galus. Because the body is not intact. So in galus, the avodah of the Jew is become the best version of yourself. Work on yourself. What's geula? Geula is when all the parts of the body come back together. That's geula. Geula is the panemius. Geula is when I recognize that my core identity is not really me. My core identity is me as part of the whole. So that's the quick recap from 5 shiurim. So with that, we're going to continue along this same theme on page Mem Dalid. So the Chalban writes over here, the title of this section, which is going to take us past this week in Meretz Hashem, is Tzimtzum HaTorah B'Galus. See, Rabbosai, what the Chalban posits and what he really advances is all ruchnius is different in Galus. It's just different in Galus. It's not the same ruchnius as when there's Geula. It's fundamentally different because when the parts of the body are not combined to form a whole, by definition, HaKadosh Baruch Hu's presence is different, and even Torah is not of the same intensity. Look what he writes. Kamor, Hagolusi, Hisporus Shal Am Hashem L'Rasisim. They both say, what's Galus? Galus is the fracturing of the nation of Hashem into pieces. Fracturing of the nation, of the collective, of the whole, into individual pieces. I want to point out that this is so incredibly important. I'll just mention this kind of derech agov. You know, we live in a different time of Galus, right? In a very different time of Galus. And if you think about it, we really live in a golden age of Galus, right? If you think about the amount of wealth in the Jewish community, the amount of influence in the Jewish community, it's I don't want to use the word unprecedented because that word is way overused in general, right? Everything's unprecedented these days. But Lamaisa, we live in a golden age of Galus. So sometimes, like when we speak about the difficulty of Galus, let's be honest, right? When you hear somebody speak out the difficulty of Galus, what goes through your mind? Right? What was that? Right. Or the translation of, that doesn't, I don't know, let's see, it's pretty good.
Also, abundance is a different form. I mean, it's not as painful.
100%. But I'm saying, like, look, when we think about it, one of the reasons we have difficulty yearning for Mashiach is because life is good. Life is good, right? So the Jew in Europe during the pogroms, or the Jew in the Jew in during the Crusades, like people had stuff to daven for. So today I have stuff to daven for also. I have daven for parnasa, for shidduchim, but the existential angst of the Jew is so different today. But I will say, but what the Chalban sensitizes us to is that's because the real ikar of galus is not the pain and the suffering. The real ikar of galus is the fact that we are splintered into so many parts. Well, I hesitate to bring it up, but I'm going to bring it up because I think it's kedai. For me, it's like the big elephant in the room over the last couple of weeks. I'm sure many of you saw, the Aguda is circulating this one kotel petition, right? One kotel petition. And the truth is, I want to tell you, like on a very personal level. So obviously the goal is 150,000 signatures that the kotel should not be divided. Do I feel that as a Jew, as a frum Jew, that the kotel shouldn't be divided, that it should be treated at least like a shul with separate sections? I do. I will say, but I'll tell you something interesting. Do you ever think about the perception that creates within the other streams of Judaism? And the incredible divisiveness. Now, I'm not saying it's not the right thing. There are Gedolei Torah behind it. I'm not weighing in on a personal level. But how overwhelming is it that in the pursuit of the Kiddusha for the Kosa, for the last remaining vestige of the Beis HaMikdash, whether we want to admit it or not, there's so much animosity that's created over it. Now, the animosity is created on both ends. But Lamaisa, we now have like a movement to actively delegitimize other streams of Judaism. And it's a, Nehemiah, what were you going to say?
I would say they're not, I would agree 100% with you, except I don't believe the other streams are really interested in the Kotel. If they're not interested, so it's like we're legitimizing whom? If they were interested, I would 100%.
I would tell you, I think that's incorrect. I think it's Yeshish. By the way, there are plenty of frum Jews that aren't interested in the Kotel either. I just want to put that out to you. There are plenty of people who get involved in fights for agenda purposes, and just like when the hoodlums, and I call them hoodlums, attack the women of the wall. Women of the wall are wrong for antagonizing. A Yid lifts up another. You think the Rebbeinu Shalom looks at it and says, shkoyach, somebody's defending my honor. It's rishus. It's the rishus. So you have people who are in this for all the wrong reasons. But I genuinely believe there was actually an excellent article in Times of Israel the other day, I forgot the lady's name, one of the heads of the Reform movement. And it was talking about a desire to want to practice and the way they want to practice. And again, I want to be clear. I'm Orthodox, right? I want to just put that out there, right? No. All right, good. I just want to put that out there. No, say, but you're in the right place. Yeah, you're in the right place. As long as you got the food, now I can say whatever. No, we'll say no. I really, it's just again. I'm not even debating the fact that should the kotel remain an undivided area. Oh, yes. But isn't it painful to think that in the pursuit of this, so much animosity occurs and so much negativity occurs on all ends. I want to be clear. This is not the Aguda creating Sinas Chinam. This is everybody doing their part in going ahead. Now again, is there a solution to it? That's a different discussion. But Lamaisa, the Chalban says that's galus. You want to know what galus is? This is galus. Galus isn't pain, right? Galus isn't privation. Galus is when Klal Yisrael is so profoundly fractured that the world sees us fighting over the holiest spot in Yiddishkeit. We're not fighting against the Arabs. We're not fighting against the Al-Aqsa, right? We're fighting against each other. Who's going to claim the soul of the holiest spot in Yiddishkeit? Again, I'm not saying it's not a war worth waging. I'm just saying sometimes in life you have to wage wars, but when you wage wars, you also have to be acutely aware of the collateral damage that those wars create. And
even when David HaMelech and Shlomo HaMelech, when you had that was considered to be the Melucha, you still had infighting that was going on. And Navi, you look at Navi and you see it all the time.
There's a difference between episodic infighting versus institutionalized infighting. I think what the Chalban is describing is Galus is institutionalized infighting, which unfortunately is the truth. There really is. There's institutionalized animosity within Klal Yisrael. There are groups that will not work together, groups that will not collaborate together, groups that refuse to be go-race each other. That's different. Is there always episodic animosity? Of course, we're Jews, we're human beings. That's the way that it is. But Lamaisa, on an ongoing basis. So again, listen, I'm just giving it as an example. And again, it's been weighing very, very, very heavily on my heart, this whole thing, because I very heavily. But I think when I saw the sign of the Chalban, this is what Galus is. Galus is Klal Yisrael fractured into a whole bunch of pieces. But Metzias Zu, Shekol Rosis Omeid Levado, Notzra Katnus Das. And he says in a situation like this, where every fragment or every segment is on its own, what happens? There's Katnus Das. Katnus Das means, there's a concept that the Chalban alluded to in our last year, which is the concept of Yisrael, Torah, Kudsha Brichu, Chadhu. Klal Yisrael, Am Yisrael, Kadosh Baruch Hu, Torah is all one entity. Which means that if Klal Yisrael is fractured, Kiviyachol, the Shechina, is impacted, and Torah is impacted as well. So says the Chalban, what ends up happening is, in Galus, as a result of the fractured nation, Torah itself becomes diminished. Sheitefisa, he says, Sheitefisa mitzumtzemes hamargishes chaye harases bilvad. So before we go on, he says, before we get to Torah, he says also, part of the danger of being fractured, we'll say, you know what happens when people are fractured? What do people see? They have tunnel vision. Right? A fractured people develops tunnel vision. And all I see are my causes. All I see are my needs. All I see are the things associated with my fragment. I don't see anything that has to do with anyone else. Katnus das zu mishula lahavlo degarmi. Osonatav shalchios hayored alatzamo shebekever lashpia bahem ma'at nitzos al shachayim. So we'll say, this is actually quite amazing. So he's quoting over here, this is Pi Kabbalah. There's a concept of havla degarmi. Havla degarmi, hevel, literally means like a spirit. Garmi is a bone. What's the spirit of the bones? The Zohar brings down something amazing. The Zohar says that when a person dies, and listen to this idea, there's still a little bit of life force that's left inside of the body, that's left inside of the bones. And the Zohar says that's how Tchias HaMesim happens. Right? How could there be resurrection? And the answer is because there's like a spark of life that's left inside of the body. So you could have something that's totally dead. It's dead. Anatomically, it's dead. But Lamaisa, there's a little spark of life. So the Chalban says that sometimes when we become fractured as a nation. So as a result of that, we have what's called katnus das, which literally means we become small-minded. Isn't this incredible? We become small-minded. A fractured people is a small-minded people because all anyone sees is their own stuff. They don't see anything else. He goes on, he says, so again, and the idea being that sometimes the body of Klal Yisrael becomes even a little bit lifeless, with just a little bit of life force left in. So we'll say here the Chalban really highlights three major pieces. Number one, that Galus is the breaking of the whole into pieces. What happens when you're broken into pieces? Number one, myopic. A person has tunnel vision. All I see and all I know is what has to do with my piece. I don't see the collective. I don't see what's happening with everyone else. Next, says the Chalban, in addition to that, Torah itself becomes diminished. And the third thing that we'll discuss is that the presence of the Ribono Shel Olam becomes diminished as well. Look at the second paragraph. Kach, nitzotzos dakim shel chius yardu li Yisrael b'zman hagalos. But here's the good news. See, HaKadosh Baruch Hu goes ahead and even in Galus sends down nitzotzos dakim shel chius, small little sparks of life. Elohim hamochin shehut amu lekatnus lematzav hisraskus hauma vispararusa. Anu chatanu, we've sinned. Ulefikach hisrasaknu v'nafalnu lekatnus. Remember, Galus is a result of misdeeds. Galus is a result of collective sin, collective punishment. So HaKadosh Baruch Hu b'tuvo horid lanu nitfei chayim dakim. So but here's the chesed of Hashem. Even in Galus, where the whole is broken into pieces, and the pieces only have what's called the havla de garmi, the little bit of spirit, a little bit of life in the bones, HaKadosh Baruch Hu still showers down some bracha, what he calls nitfei chayim dakim. Literally, again, little what's the word? Like droplets of life. Little droplets of life that HaKadosh Baruch Hu drops into us. Listen to what he compares it to. Kitagin dakim agabe osios. Well, so listen to how beautiful this is. What is this like? You ever seen a Sefer Torah? So again, some of the letters have what's called a tag. A tag is a crown, right? It's a little piece that extends upward. So there's the primary letter, and then there's the tag. So the Chalban says so beautifully that what does HaKadosh Baruch Hu do for us? What does he do for us in Galus? In Galus, ultimately, he showers down these little droplets, right, of life, almost like the little extension above the letters. The real letter, that's a function of Geula. But the tagin, the little crowns, the little extensions, you could have that even in Galus. The Rebbe goes on. He says, His ames ha'or v'hachios alakatnos shebegalus, he lemaises soda in amuskar la Torah, shenafla b'churban v'yarda ploim, v'nitztam tzima begalus mona. Well, so now here we come to the next part, which is, it's not only the Jew who is impacted by Galus, and not only the Jew who is diminished in Galus, Torah is diminished as well. I will say here he quotes the concept of tzimtzum. So in Chassidus, tzimtzum means a number of different things, right? So for example, Rabbi Levi Yitzchak in the first Vart in Kedushas Levi in Bereshis talks about the concept of tzimtzum, and there he explains what tzimtzum means is the Ribono Shel Olam is so vast and so great. I am so limited and so small. So how can I, a being who is so finite, limited, and small, experience something that is so vast and great? And the answer is, says Chassidus Chaburah explains, concept of tzimtzum. HaKadosh Baruch Hu is mitzamtzem atzmo. He constricts, right, or consolidates himself a little bit and makes himself almost like into a concentrate, right, so that I can go ahead and I can experience him on some level. Is it the full experience of HaKadosh Baruch Hu? No, not at all. But it's a tzimtzum. It's a consolidation of the divine so that I, as a finite being, have the ability to experience Hashem. So the Chalban says over here something amazing. He says, Torah also experiences a tzimtzum, a constricting or a consolidation in Galus as well. Ad sherov oroseh v'shef as kidushasa nignuzu v'nelmo. Both said this is actually a dramatically profound statement. The Chalban says, in Galus, the majority of Torah's light, Torah's flow of energy, and Torah's holiness is concealed. Which I will say, by the way, tells you something amazing. Because we know how incredible Torah is, how overwhelmingly beautiful Torah is. And the Chalban will say, we're not even experiencing real Torah. We're experiencing a consolidated, constricted, I don't want to use the word chasham, watered down, not watered down, consolidated, constricted form of Torah. Real Torah, in tzimtzum purest form, is not experienced in Galus, the Chalban posits. Real Torah is only experienced in Geula. What we have over here is a tzimtzum of Torah. Look what he writes. He says, and we'll say, this is so beautiful. Last paragraph, page Mem Daled. Ki Torah beromemusa kefi shemeskala be'eretz Yisrael biyos hamikdash hamechona v'Yisrael b'tifarsam. So remember again, I mentioned this, but for the new Chevra this week, remember, Chalban will explain, even if you're in Eretz Yisrael contemporarily, that's still Galus also, right? Remember again, the state of Galus is not a function of in Eretz Yisrael, outside of Eretz Yisrael. Galus is the pre-Messianic era. So wherever you are, obviously, again, is there more Kiddush in Eretz Yisrael? Of course. But Lamaisa, the dynamic of Galus is everywhere in this world until Mashiach comes. So comes along the Chalban, he says something amazing. You want to listen to how beautiful this is. Torah in its essence. Torah b'Rabba Musa. Torah in its highest level. Kefi shemesgala be'eretz Yisrael. Biyos hamikdash al michono. V'Yisrael b'tifartam. Do you want to know, say, what Torah was like, and what Torah will be like when Am Yisrael is in Eretz Yisrael, when the Beis Hamikdash is standing? Hine elyon himod. I will say, it's so beautiful to, I had the schus to be in Eretz Yisrael last week, and I was staying in the old city, and I had the schus to stay in an apartment that had a mirpaset that literally I was a few feet away from the Harabayis. Literally, also next to the Arab quarter, but I had literally a few feet away from the Harabayis. Absolutely, and again, you look at it. I had my children, Baruch Hashem, I have children in Eretz Yisrael now. We had Malava Malka, literally overlooking the Harabayis, and you feel it. And right now, it's the wrong structure that's there. But even with the wrong structure there, that's staring you back in the face. Like, oh my gosh, you get a window. You get a window into what Am Yisrael is going to be like, what Eretz Yisrael is going to be like. So the Chalban says, you want to know what Torah was like in its high point? What Torah was like when the Beis Hamikdash, look what he writes. El Yona Admo. So let's say, how sometimes when you want to express to someone, you want to tell your wife, or you want to tell your child that you love them, right? So what do you say? Right? I love you. Good, okay, excellent. Shkayach, everyone. Wow, wonderful. It's a very, maybe Dr. Chalban is going to give out his card afterwards a little bit. Right? So again, right? Okay, let me coach you with this a little bit, right? So I'll say, in other words, you can say I love you, but sometimes you want to say, I love you very much. I love you very much. So like when children are little, so what they'll say is when they want to express that they love you a lot, I love you this much, right? They'll say, but you ever have a feeling like where you love someone so much, but you cannot find the words to express it? I love you so. I don't know. I could say I love you. I love you very much. I love you very, very much. I love you so very much. I could keep on adding in words, but at the end of the day, there's a frustration because I want my wife to know how much I love her. I want my children to know how much I love them. I want my friend to know how, and it's frustrating because I can't get the words. Sometimes what we do is, because you can't get the words, what do we do?
Say nothing.
What? Say nothing, right? Right, bad move. I'm going to go on record and say bad move. Very bad move. So what I was going to say, yeah, I'm going to realize this is no longer an interactive share. So what I was going to say, what? I think he's going to see you tomorrow at 9. So again, what sometimes we do is, so we do like something physical, right? I'll get a gift, I'll give a hug, I'll give a kiss, So what I can't do in words, I'll try to do in behaviors. But there are some things that just, with all the words, you just can't convey it. I feel like that's what the Chalban is saying over here. He's describing the greatness of Torah when Mashiach comes in the Beis Hamikdash, and the only thing he could say is, Hine Elyona Hi Ma'od. What does Elyona Hi Ma'od means? Elyona Hi Ma'od? It's great. It's great. It's just great. It's so high. It's the highest of high. It's the holy of holies, right? It's so heilig. It's so incredible. What else? He elyone himaod. Kol kach niskava gava, and it's on such an elevated level. Achirachoka miyecholes hatzir vasaga shal yisrael bizman hagalos. I will say this is incredible. The Chalban says it's so great that we can't even the galus Jew can't comprehend this. And I will say I think about this a lot because we all love Torah, and we all love Torah so much. And the truth is, the feeling of elation we get from a Blat Gemara, from Hakitzu from Shtayim Mikra, from whatever it is that we're learning, is incredible. But the Chalban says, that's a tzimtzum. You don't even know what the good stuff is. You don't even know what it's like. And the truth is, the Chalban says, we can't even wrap our head around it, because the Jew in Galus can't be masik. The Jew in Galus can't really understand what true Torah, how beautiful it is. Bo nistalka haneshama v'nifrat haguf l'rasisim. Because unfortunately in Galus, what's happened? There's an element of my neshama that's gone, right? And ultimately the body, Klal Yisrael, is in pieces. So when the neshama is not in its full form and the body is in pieces, you can't even fully appreciate what Torah is.
So I'm a little bit confused about something, about exactly what Galus is. Is Galus the physical lack of not being in messianic times, shall we say? Or is it something that we do to ourselves? Let me explain. Because we went into Golus, we had the Beis HaMikdash, not because we didn't have a physical presence. We had the physical presence, yet it was caused by our own actions. So it seems like the Golus. So does that mean that no matter what we do, we can never escape Golus on a personal level, as long as not physical? But yet it seems as though even if you could, the physical presence isn't the determining factor. So which is it?
So I think it's.
Clear?
Yeah. It's an excellent question. I think the answer is, and you'll tell me if I'm answering your question. I think the answer is both. The definition of galus is the state of being without a Beis Hamikdash and a united Klal Yisrael. That is galus. That's galus.
Have we ever experienced that? Has that ever happened to us?
Whatever happened?
That. Being
together.
with the bias and having unity.
Shlomo Melech built the Beis Hamikdash. We just had it in Daf Yomi.
We were completely unified?
For a little while. Again. No. I want to be clear. Galus doesn't come with, Geula doesn't come with guarantees for continuity. In other words, Geula, it's not the pshat that Geula is the finish line, and once you reach it, you're good to go. Meaning Geula is a state of being, but like any state of being, you have to perpetuate it. And if you don't perpetuate it, you descend back into the chaos of Galus. So when you look at the way the Navi describes the building of the first Beis Hamikdash by Shlomo HaMelech, we just had this in Daf Yomi, and you see how the Gemara describes that year on Yom Kippur, they didn't fast, because they didn't need to fast, because they didn't need the Slicha u'Mechila of Yom Kippur, because they had the Slicha and Mechila of Achdus. We had it. Now, how long did it last for? It lasted until Shlomo's son, Rechavam, where now the kingdom split, right? The kingdom split, and then it was a slow downward spiral from there. So, could we reach that level? Absolutely. But reaching it, of course, is only one part of the equation. Then you have to maintain it. The maintenance of it, like anything, anybody could reach the highest of the high and get to the top of the mountain. The shaila is, can you stay there? And that's always been the ongoing challenge of Klal Yisrael. I don't have a problem getting to the top of the mountain. I just have a problem not rolling down the other side. Chami, does that answer your question?
So you can be in Golus even if you think the Beis HaMikdash is around?
Yes, that is correct. That is correct.
Is the opposite true, though?
That you could be in...
Out of Golus if the Beis HaMikdash is not around?
No, Chabad will say no.
I'm saying, it seems
The
Chabad. You would say the reverse.
Yeah, it's not an equal equation. That is correct.
Right.
That is correct. You can correct according to the Chalban. I will say now again. I want to just full disclosure. Like this is the Chalban's approach. This you're going to see. This is his Torah. You would definitely find many who would argue specifically on the definitions, by the way, of Galus and Geula, the definitions of Pnimius and Chitzonius. But yes, in the Chalban's model, there is no Geula without the Mikdash. There is no geula without the mikdash by definition, and it's always galus without the mikdash. But yet, even with the mikdash, you could still be in a state of galus. That is correct.
The mikdash won't last. That's what happens.
The mikdash won't last. Correct. Once there's that downward spiral, ultimately the mikdash's days are unfortunately numbered.
I mean, the mikdash is just it's a Hakadosh Baruch Hu's presence in this world. Meaning it's a physical manifestation of Hashem's presence in this world. Galus is when Hashem removes himself from the world. So if you don't have, meaning it's all.
Right.
We're using physical.
No, because what Nehemiah is saying is you can have a state of galus even if the mikdash is here.
Yeah, I mean, if Hakadosh Baruch Hu removes himself from the world, meaning that's what galus is.
Correct.
Meaning we don't see. We have
Correct.
to struggle to find.
Correct. So all Nehemiah is saying is, but the reverse is not true. For example, in other words, you can't have geula without the mikdash, but you can have galus even with the mikdash. That's the point, and I think it's absolutely true, according to the Chalban.
What if you had Achdus, and even the whole world was now focused on understanding about Hashem?
That's called Mashiach.
Yeah, but does that mean that the Beis HaMikdash has been rebuilt?
Look, our Masorah, what you're describing is the way the Rambam describes the Messianic era, right? Which is the world, right? Olam Kimin Hago Noheg, the world continues as a normal world, but humanity accepts HaKadosh Baruch Hu and recognizes Klal Yisrael's right to Eretz Yisrael. You look at the world around us, and the truth is, again, we're having this discussion, recognizing Am Yisrael's right to Eretz Yisrael. We're in the middle of battling a report from Amnesty International, right? So you see, by the way, it's, so I don't know, the Chalban would say, or the Rambam would say, what you're describing doesn't happen without a Beis HaMikdash. Can it happen? I don't know. It'd be wonderful to say that it could, but I don't know.
Is the Beis HaMikdash a result of that?
The Beis HaMikdash,
that's the culmination.
It's a concurrent process. It's a concurrent process. In other words, the way we're going to see, again, the Chalban's going to get into this, because we'll say right now, if you notice, what we've only been focusing on is the Chalban's explanation of what galus is. What we're yearning and thirsting for is what? Tell me how to get out of it. Right, so again, we're gonna get to that. We're gonna see. Let's do one more paragraph and then we'll stop for tonight. He says, so I'll say, so go to page Memhei. Toras hashchina b'shleimus ora, einani yechola lehikalit b'nafshos haratzutzos tachas netel hagoyim. So the Chalban says, the Torah of the Ribono Shel Olam with its complete light cannot be absorbed by the Jewish soul that is living underneath a Gentile influence. Ba'am hayoshev b'choshech, in a nation ultimately again that is living in the darkness. La'achar shenistalka mimene hashchina al-yona. This goes back to what Rabbi just said before. That galus, although Chalban really hasn't said it explicitly, but galus is really a siluk of the Shechina. It's a removal. If geula with a Beis HaMikdash represents a manifestation or concentration of the divine presence, galus represents the removal of that. So you know what? We'll stop over here for tonight. We're going to stop over here with this piece. You could see again, I will say this is loaded and overwhelming. So Meretz Hashem, in next week's shir, because we're going to, Baruch Hashem, no break for the next couple of weeks. In next week's shir, we're going to continue to delve into this a little bit, specifically to try to understand. The Chabad is going to do a very beautiful piece. As Rabbi say, all he told us is that the Torah of Geula is fundamentally different than the Torah of Galus. Right? And the Torah of Geula, again, he tells me, Al Yonehi Ma'od. It's great. We're going to see in next week's shir, Meretz Hashem, a little bit more. So wherein lies the difference between Geula Torah and Galus Torah? We don't know the difference yet. All we know is that one is greater than the other. What that difference is, in Meretz Hashem, we'll see next week's shir. Good. And Shkoyach to see again. I will say then, Mariv. Good. So we'll sing a niggin and then.
Supposed to be translated this into English so soon.
I will tell you. You know who was working on an English translation of this? Rabbi Shimon Appersdorf.
Really?
Was working on English translation. I don't know if he's doing it or not, but you can't. Some things. The notes would be very long. Shkoyach.
Can I just push the rabbi wanted to tell you, since it's Chassidus, I think I'll tell you Chassidus Chaburah.
Please.
The pasuk says when Yehuda is trying to convince Yaakov that they should go back to Mitzrayim, the pasuk says Kilula Yismamana Kishavnu Zeh Pamayim. The Sar Shalom Sholbel, I think it's what it said. It says Lule, the Rosh Hashanah is Elul. So if you Hismamana, if you waited for Elul, it says you have another opportunity. Kishavnu Zeh Gematra is 12. The 12th month Pamayim. The year when the 12th month comes out to be twice is your opportunity to do something.
Beautiful. Beautiful. We should all be zochen. We should all be zochen. Meretz Hashem. Shkoyach, Chabra. Shkoyach. Okay, we'll do my ribbon here. I will just do it right here. These guys. Shmuel. Stuff, right? Yeah.
Couple dollars.
Did you enjoy it? Did you eat enough?
My point is, sure.
Okay, we have people.
Pleasure to be here for that.
Yes, amazing. We're all going to be prepared.
Over again, I see another bowl. Patience is in the sense of not in virtue. So I had to share that with him also. I think it really had an impact. I just wanted to share that with you. I think just that sheet, just looking there, I think it made a difference in his life. So thank you very much.